A pleasant morning to you out there, and good morning. Welcome to the Dailies on Network Television International, where we keep you updated with all that is happening on the papers, ranging from Nigerian news, human, politics. Just talk about a lot of things that are happening in Nigeria at the moment. We will recall that yesterday the meeting between Labour and federal government actually did not end or did not bring the expected result that they were hoping. So we hope to see what will be the next line of action coming from either the federal government or Labour. I am Stella Elisha Dasham, and I'll be doing this together with Rachel Tansy. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, Stella.
How you doing?
I'm fine.
All right, let's quickly run through the papers, starting with the Guardian newspaper. And I will start where we have Nigerians bear 1 trillion naira metering burden at CBN World Bank back paddle. You can find that story on page 6. Also, we have a column here showing us the increases in meter prices between 2013 and 2023, where we've seen about the single phase is about 24,000 naira, and then down to how many phases you are having. So quite a number of it. And then we're still having the fact on the front page till date, only 4 discos have successfully metered at least 50%. Now you can continue to find a lot of the stories on the front page of the paper. Still on the Guardian newspaper, we have economy, insecurity and others top Senate concern as 2024 budget plans begin. Economy, insecurity and others top Senate concern as the 2024 budget plans begin. You can find that on page 3. Hopefully we'll talk about that down there. And then we're still talking about the UN General meeting, where Tinubu will be addressing world leaders today on the illicit financial flows, assets and return. The meeting is holding in New York, where we have other president and head of state will be present there. So you can do well to find more of that story on page 6. Husband narrates how fake doctor harvested late wife's kidney. Wow, this is a sad one. You can find more of that story on page 8. Also, we have 20 feared killed, 7 arrested in Jagamu cult war. You can find more on page 9. NMPCL fails to remit $6.9 billion, swaps $7.1 billion worth of crew in 1 year. You can find that also on page 3. Also, we have other story here, litigation, store Amcon loan recovery, 73% of the top 350 debtors in court. You can find that business story on page 15. In as much as I would love to just flip this, but the story of the issue of this kidney harvest, I mean, it has been on the paper, I think, for about 2 weeks or so right now, and ever since the story got to make it round. And it breaks my heart, Rachel, because this should be an eye-opener to a lot of people. I'm not going to really pour the blame on the victims, actually, for victim to this issue that happened. We had that in Plateau State here, where we saw that. What breaks my heart was the fact that the man is not even a doctor. Certified doctor.
Yes.
He's an economics. So you begin to ask, Rachel, what does numbers have to do with you working in the hospital? And then a lot of, if you listen to some of the people who live around the clinic, it's a clinic, not a hospital. If you find a lot of people who live around that clinic, and they will tell you the way the man is he's a philanthropist, you know, he helped people and all of that. And I think that was the way he bought the sympathy of the people around that. I think they call the area Yan Shano or something like that in Plateau State. And then the story is everywhere how this man, I think this happened in 2017, not until recently that the woman discovered that one of her kidney is missing. And this is an eye-opener to people. Whenever you have a pain, make sure the doctor or the clinic you want to patronize is a certified clinic. Be sure that it's a doctor that's actually operating this hospital, because a lot of things are happening. I remember when even in the hospital, we saw in the paper, I think beginning of this year or last year, where we saw some of the issues that happen as a result of maybe carelessness coming from nurses or even the doctors because of one thing or the other. So we really have to be careful. We've seen a lot of complications that come from carelessness of some of these medical practitioners, not to even talk less of somebody that does not even know anything that has to do with practicing medicine whatsoever. We are aware that the number of doctors is drastically dropping now, but that shouldn't be a yardstick for people to patronize nice doctors that are not certified. We really send our condolences to this husband who narrate how this have resulted, according to the Guardian, late wife. So that is to say that the wife eventually died, according to this. But then we hope that eventually people should be very, very careful. And then for people who have had maybe one operation, open operation or open surgery whatsoever that were being done, need to go for scanning. You know, the other day I was saying that somebody was laughing. I said, even if it's an appendix that was being conducted on you, I think it's high time people go for scanning to be sure that it stopped at just the lower abdomen where the appendix didn't get beyond that, because a lot of things are happening. People are hungry and desperate for money. So we have to be careful. And this is just in Plateau State, who are yet we have many things others. That have many others in the country. So we really send our condolences to this family on the paper. We hope that this will serve as an eye-opener to us, and even to the Commissioner of Health. This is not saying that you need to go around to check and be sure that this clean that outside. They should show you their license. Have they been licensed to have that? Because what shocked my heart, Richard, is the fact that when you see a vet, maybe a place being owned by a vet practitioner, they are being certified, they are licensed. You hardly see maybe a vet outlet that the person operating there does not have a license. So why when it comes to human medicine, we're very careless about things like that. So we hope that we'll see more, supervision coming to be sure that people who are operating, whether it's the pharmacies or is it even chemists, whatever it is, they should be certified and show their license that yes, they are qualified to have such.
You know, Sele, I like the fact that you said the victims can't really be blamed for things like that, because whether we like it or not, there's only little that people can do concerning when it comes to health. And how many people are that educated to walk into a hospital and ask for the certification and ask for all the license that this doctor needs and ask for his certificate? If I walk into a hospital that I see that the government have allowed to function as a hospital, I won't go and start saying, doctor, can I see your certificate? I won't start saying, doctor, can I see the license you got for this clinic? So just as you said, what are the agencies, what are the bodies that are responsible for going around and inspecting these hospitals are doing? What are they? Because even when it comes to a government-owned hospital, there are supposed to be people going there to what's the word for it, like you want to go and inspect. Exactly, you go and inspect and make sure that these hospitals are following the guidelines that is appropriate to medicine, that patients are taken good care of, that doctors are not maltreating patients, or nurses are. There are checks that you are supposed to do even for a well-certified hospital. Talk more of all these private tiny clinics we see everywhere. In some remote areas you will see this clinic, you will see that clinic. And don't forget that when somebody is sick, they're not thinking about where is big and better. They're looking for where there is solution, and they want to believe that the fact that this person has been allowed to establish this hospital, it means I can go there and trust this doctor with my life, because of course he's not posing as an economist in that hospital, he's posing as a doctor. And how many people will think, let me ask, perhaps some people have had what would they call it, they've had past experience and have said, this doctor treated me and I got better. And just as you said, he has portrayed himself as a philanthropist in the society, always giving, always helping. He has won the heart of people, so automatically there's trust, and people now go and then trust their lives with him. And then this is the outcome, because finally, because you can function with just a kidney, but you need to know, because there are certain things you are supposed to do and know. And I believe this woman didn't know and went on with her life normal, thinking all of her organs, and then at the process, now seeing that things that are not supposed to be failing are failing her, and went to the hospital and realized that. So it's the majority of the well-being of every citizen in a country, be it on the state level, is in the hands of the government, because there's only little you and I can do. When we see a hospital establishment, we want to believe that for the government to have allowed it function in the first place, for it to be a building, for it to be named a hospital, it means that the necessary authority have gone and have checked and have seen that this hospital have reached the standard to operate as a clinic or even as a private hospital. And then I, as a sick person, will walk into it and try to get my treatment, and then when I end up being botched of one of my organ or so, and then it looks like you're being careless. But how many people walk into the hospital and start saying, doctor, let me see your license, let me see your certificate? You can't even do that. Or yes, exactly. So let the people that are in charge of making sure that the lives of others, because it doesn't just stop at the hospital level, it stops at who allowed this clinic in the first place to exist. Who are the people in charge of going around to inspect all these private hospitals, to make sure that they are licensed, to make sure that the doctors are certified, to make sure that the nurses have the right certification and all of that? Who are those people that allowed this hospital in the first place to function? Are we trying to say that the government don't have an agency that is with the responsibility of inspecting all of this and making sure that there's no illegal hospital functioning? So it's just quite unfortunate. Very and then we just hope that this will be an eye-opener for people to also safeguard themselves the best way they can. Go to a prestigious hospital. Go to where you know that for sure it is owned by the government, and even if it is a private hospital, go to where you know that the doctors there are renowned, well known, and are not quack. Just do your own little homework. Yes, do your own little homework and just try your own best.
Honestly, it breaks my heart because the number of organ harvests is becoming high. This is one of the reasons why Kwerimadu is still in prison over there, because of the same issue of kidney. So we hope that our government will be proactive when it comes to this issue of things. And I think that's how far I can go on The Guardian.
On the Daily Times, we have sundry charges hurting maritime operation in Nigeria. Female operators tell Oyetola. The big story on the paper: move to impeach Senate President Akpabio rumbles on. And then we have the writer under the story saying northern senators ride by inability to check Tinubu's perceived Yorubanization of economy. And then we have the untold role of northern big business owners. We have discussed owners angry with him over failed 40% tariff hike plan. Still on the Daily Times newspaper, 2024 Guba deputy governor locked out amid fresh mess in government house. Security committee order from above. Then we have Shaibu may fight dirty. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. Tinubu appoints 18 aides in vice president's office. 25th dead as cultists clash, research in Sagamu, curfew imposed. I stand by my action on royal fathers, a statement coming from Obasanjo. You can find more details of his statement on page 2. And at the downside of the paper, federal government NLC meeting ends in deadlock as indefinite strike looms. More details of the outcome of the meeting can be found on page 5. That's all the news on the Daily Times newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper, where we have 3 sit-at-home enforcers killed in gun battle with security operative in Enugu. You can find more detail of that on page 4. Also, we have the Sun book will help in national development, coming from Obi. You want to know what the book contains, you can start reading on the front page and continue on page 6. Northern senators gross about Akpabio's exposed. Aggrieved lawmakers say zone marginalizing in federal appointments without Senate president doing anything to stop it. You can find more of that big story on page 6. Parents and guardians lament the hike in fees as school resumed. We've seen it that most schools resumed yesterday, so quite a lot of lamentation going around on the hike of school fees, transportation for kids and all of that. You can do well to find more detail of that on page 17. FRS net 8.5 trillion naira in 9 months. Banks unclaimed dividend hit 79 billion naira. You can find that on page 25. Enugu state government begins stealing. All right, I take that story again. Enugu state government begins sealing of illegal mining sites. You can see more of that story on page 7 on what the Enugu state government is doing their own part to seal up places that have been, being used by illegal miners. Still on the Daily Sun newspaper, we have gunmen hijack another Benue link boss abduct NTA staff and 10 others. Something needs to be done about that expressway where we've been having quite a number of kidnapping taking place there. We hope the Benue State government will do something to actually make sure that people coming in, and also some of these buses, because they are owned by the government, we hope that they'll do more steps to protect it and make sure that some of the routes, these links talking about the transporters use, is actually safe. Because I think another, and then here we're having about 10 people, and then an NTA staff was being kidnapped. So it really breaks my heart. This is not the first time we're hearing such stories. So we hope this will be, I'm happy because, you know, the big story on the Guardian said that insecurity and then talking about, it's actually the top list for economic insecurity, is the top list for Senate as we're looking at the 2024 budget. So you could tell that from the Guardian what they are trying to say is that quite a lot needs to be done, because the issue of insecurity is becoming like every day you wake up to one breaking story after another, to the point that Nigerians are becoming so used to hearing bad news, and that is a bad signal whatsoever if you get used to hearing things like this. So we hope the government will wake up to their responsibility. We'll keep saying this over and over. Your number one is to protect lives and property. Once you feel that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So I don't know what is the problem, because most time we hear attacks like this being done, buses being hijacked, somehow there is an insider involved in all of this. So we hope that proactive measures will be taking place where we have all of these government-owned transport outlets. They should do something to make sure that these buses are secured, and whatever it would take, if it is the road that is bad, they should make sure that the roads are being fixed, because every day we wake up to one of the stories and it's really not supposed to be. So we look forward to seeing what the government will do about that.
Stella, when you see the way kidnapping happens, you know that it's how will I put it, there's collaboration. There's no doubt that there is an insider, like, it's out there, because certain information they have and they reveal, you wonder how did they know. Then it's like, it's very strategic. It's not like it is, but it is very strategic. When you see the kind of boss they target, the people they get, there is definitely insiders in all of this, because whether we like it or not, kidnapping has become a business, and people have made millions from ransoms, just collecting ransoms on people. So we just hope that the Senate are saying it, it's about them doing it, because it's easy to say a lot of things. We have governments that always say things, but the result is always what the citizens we always wait to see if they will come through with what they are saying. So yes, we all know it. Nigerians know that security should be top without even you mentioning it. What we want is the results, Sele. We want to wake up one day and really have the roads that were safe, that people could actually spend the night on the road and be comfortable and know that they can wake up and continue their journey peacefully, that people won't feel stranded. It is possible. We have every resource. I don't belittle what Nigeria can achieve, because I know we can achieve security, we can achieve peace, but the more it takes longer, it makes you feel that all of our speculations are true. Why are these people getting away from this? Are the army, the military, or the navy, the air force, the police, are they trying to tell us that all of these people are above them? Of course not. So let them wake up and do the needful in this country.
We hope, just like you said, Richard, that they match their work with their words. That is just what Nigerians want to see. Still on the Daily Sun newspaper, Paris Club refund, federal government asks the court to stop the $480 million payment to consultants. You can find more of that Paris Club refund money on page 28. NNPCL, 47 others firm own federal government $8.265 billion. And this is a report, calls on anti-graft agency to recover the debts being owned by some of these firms. You can find more on page 22. And then going down to Edo State, where we have Edo governor and deputy fight get messier. I was locked out at the government house. This is coming from the deputy Shaibu. You have no office there. This is coming from Obaseki. This story or this fight is becoming bigger and bigger every day. We truly do not know what is the problem with this internal fight that they are having, but we hope that they'll be able to rectify this, and that at the end of the day, the people of Edo State don't get involved in this, because definitely there are people that will be backing the governor and not will be backing the deputy, and before you realize it, something will not go well in this state, and that is not what we want. So we hope that the governor, as the bigger man, will rectify whatever the issue is as much as it lies within you. Make peace, let your state be in a peaceful state, because all of these things have a way of escalating, and before I realize something will happen. We do not like it. You know, initially I was trying to overlook this story, but then it's becoming
bigger
and bigger, and then it calls for maybe we need other people coming in, stakeholders, elder statesmen coming in to intervene and know what really is the problem, and then they should rectify it so that we can have a peaceful state where the residents, I mean the people there, will be happy having a governor and a deputy that work together. Because believe me, there will be no growth when we see things like this happening. Because rather than focusing on what is not happening well, they will be focusing on their own fight, no matter what it is. I hope that they rectify it as soon as possible. The last story here is on the strike, where we have federal government NLC meeting deadlocked. You can find that on page 6. And we have the picture story where we can see the former governor of Anambra State and also the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in February 25th, 2023 election, receiving a copy of the book Making of the Modern Nigeria from Pre-Colonial Era Till Date from the Managing Director in Chief of the Sun Publishing Limited in Lagos yesterday. And that is all on the Daily Sun newspaper.
On Daily Independent, NNPC others didn't remit $8.265 billion to Federation account in 2021. A statement coming from NETTI. You can start with the details on the front page and continue inside the paper. 20 dead as rival cult group clash in Ogun State. The big story on the paper, CBN default on foreign exchange backlog undermines investors' confidence. I stand by my position on Oyo Monarchs, a statement coming from the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, his own purported wife who begged for forgiveness. You can find more details on page 29. Federal government must refrain from harassing, detaining opposition, Atiku warns. Edo deputy governor was not locked out of office, coming from the governor's aide. Tribunal dismisses APC's petition against Governor Lawal of Zamfara. Federal government develops policy on patient safety and care quality. You can find more details on page 6. Coming from UNGA, Tinubu engages South African president in economic bilateral talks. You can find more details on page 6. Still on Daily Independent, federal government brings labor leaders back to negotiating table. Stakeholders yet to agree to avert planned indefinite strike. At the downside of the paper, federal government considers cancelling multiple designations for foreign airlines. You can find more details on page 7, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
On the Nation newspaper, FRS recovers 4 trillion naira tax liability from the NNPCL. Detail found on page 5. Obasanjo justified public rebuke of the traditional rulers. You want to know what he said? You can do well to flip through the paper of the pages of the Nation and read more detail of that. Petrol importers power firm behind anti-Apabio's plot. You can find that on page 5. 5 senators, 26 reps sacked by the tribunals. You can find more on page 2. Police kill 8, arrest 9 in Sagamo. Cold clashes. More can be found on page 27. And we have the NEF Chief Baba Ahmed joins Sheitima as special advisor. Why I accepted the offer, and then the VP gets 17 other aides. You can find more inside the paper. Also, the big story, we have Atiku Obi appeals raise concern over Supreme Court cases. Panel of 7 will deplete number of justice to 4. More of the story inside. Also, Shaibu drama at Government House deepen role with Obaseki, with more on page 28. We also have Agoro likely to become Lagos HOS. You can find more of that inside. And the federal government NLC talks to continue. So keep your fingers crossed when they will hopefully meet again to continue their negotiation. And that is all on the Nation newspaper.
On the Punch newspaper, Nigeria servicing 108 World Bank loans worth $14 billion. This is a report. You can find details on page 10. No easy solution to Nigeria's economic problem, says U.S. Oil companies, agencies owe federal government $9.85 billion revenue, statement coming from NTTI. The big story on the Punch newspaper, federal government NLC meeting deadlocked, workers insist on demands. We have government workers must agree on concrete resolutions within remaining days of ultimatum. Ministers appeal to labor unions to embrace dialogue, shun strike as deadline ends Friday. At the downside of the Punch newspaper, drama of Obaseki locks out and battle deputy from government house. Tension as 8 killed in Ogun community called clashes. Obasanjo insists on stand-up order to monarchs. You can find more details on page 7, and that's all news on the Punch newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at Nigerian News Direct, where we have FRS ranks in 8.5 trillion naira in 8 months as new chairman vows to block revenue leakages. More on page 4. 30 million naira hackathon prize. NCC calls for application from Nigerians tech community. The big story for Nigerian News Direct, government agency oil companies failed to remit over $9.85 billion revenue to the federal government. A report coming from the NEITI. The writer following that story, 80% of the financial liabilities owned by the NNPCL. Nigeria loses 68.47 billion barrels of crude oil to measurement error, theft, and sabotage. You can find more of these on page 3. 17th year dead in Sagamo cultist clash as Ogun government orders curfew. More can be found on page 23. And on the FCT operation sweep, arrest 400 persons and pound 50 vehicles. This is coming from the over the minister of the FCT. You can find more of that inside. And we have the NDIC set to pay liquidation dividend to depositors, ex-staff of Merchandise Bank. And also we have how increased local production reduced importation of pharmaceutical product by 63% in 2 years. This is coming from NAFTA. They say how increased local production reduce importation of pharmaceutical product by 63% in 2 years. So we hope to see more of Nigerian made drugs in the country, hopefully. And that is all on Nigerian News Direct.
On the Matrix newspaper, South African mining industries have a role to play in Nigerian solid mineral sectors. Tinubu to Ramaphosa. You can find more details on the front page. The big story on the paper, anxiety rises as indefinite strike looms. Federal government organized labor meeting deadlocked. Disunity surfaces between organized labor as NLC blasts TUC. Invasion of NURTW office, enough reason to embark on strike. 4 months enough time for federal government to meet labor's demand. You can find all the details on page 2. Now we have Tinubu appoints Peter Obi's running mate brother Hakeem Baba Ahmed as special advisor. You can find more details on page 10. Number of Nigerians paying tax too low, a statement coming from the RMAFC chairman. Obaseki Shaibu Rip deepens as governor bans deputy from government house. This is happening in Edo. You can find more details on page 9. Why I ordered Oyo monarchs to stand up, Obasanjo opens up. Still on the Matrix newspaper, we have recovered 70% of 4 trillion naira bad debt coming from AMCOM. New FIRS chairman targets 18% tax to GDP in 3 years. NGX gains 264 billion naira amid Cardoso's nomination. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 5. We have a picture story showing investment on solid minerals in their mine, where we can see President Bola Tinubu shaking hands with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa during a bilateral discussion in New York yesterday. And that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
Alright, before we continue with other paper analysis, we'd love to take a break at this moment to let you through the stories, and when we come back, we'll open the phone lines and hear what your thoughts are concerning any of the story. Please stay tuned with us.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zoom on Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Thank you for staying tuned. It's still the Dailies on Echo Television. Before we went on the break, we're looking at quite a number of stories where we've seen the president have met with South African president to actually have a bilateral, discussion on how we can utilize our solid mineral, especially when it comes to the mining. Also, we've seen that the meeting between the federal government and Labour did not end as expected. So hopefully they might be strike or they might actually meet up again to come up with better solution to the problem that is happening presently. We have quite a number of stories that are in the paper this morning, so our phone line is open at this moment. You can feel free to call us and air your view on any of the story that is of interest to you. Please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us, be audible enough when we hear you, and also try to summarize your point in a minute so other callers can also have the room to call in and air their views. I still have Rachel. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome, Sherry.
All right, before the calls come in, let's go straight into the paper looking at the New Telegraph newspaper. Starting with a big story. Federal government NLC meeting ends in deadlock, agreed to continue talks. Where we have a rider, only concrete solution to palliative wage award NURTW crisis will avert the strike. Detail of that story can be found on page 2. Forest quiz. Letters of credit payment dropped to $71.40 million. We have $549.22 million recorded in the first quarter of 2023. So you can dwell to read more detail of that story. Also, we have Paris Club refund. Federal government moves to block the $480 million payment to consultants. Other story here, my baby mama not an Obasanjo, says the ex-president, talking about the apology that was reflected on our paper yesterday coming from his wife. The president, as the former president, said rightly that yes, she is his wife with 2 kids, but there she's not a member of the family. She just have kids for him. So you can do well to find more of that story inside the paper. And on the issue of school fees hike, OAU students vowed to shut down the campus. You can find more on page 26 and 28 of the New Telegraph newspaper. Be conscious of digital tech challenges, the Chief Justice of Nigeria tells justices. You can find more inside the paper. And on the issue of palliative, police probe Ondo commissioners attack. You can find that on page 4 and 6. Other stories on New Telegraph we have coming from Murik, Tinubu's appointment lopsided favors the Southwest and Christians. Atiku accuses President APC of illegal arrest, detention of opposition. You can find more on page 7 and 26. Political elite plotting to destroy NYSC, says the CLO. You can find more of that on page 26. Tinubu appoints 18-8 for Shetima, urges African leaders to demand Woods institution return at the UNGA. You can find more of that coming inside the paper on page 3 and 7. Unremitted revenue hit $9.85 billion coming from the NEITI. All right. Hello. Good morning.
Yes. Hello.
We're with you, sir. Good morning.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Sele and Rachel, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I appreciate connecting you today.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Honestly, our problems are widening by the days. But I cannot imagine our president, since Buhari to Tinubu, they are always jetting out of this country. Why our ordeals are widening? When are we going to have solution to the problems that are dealing with us in this country? Instead for our leaders to settle down and give us dividends of democracy, they are busy jetting out to other nations, attending summits, attending programs that we cannot even see the positivity of it. Buhari was going out always. Till Buhari left this country, we didn't even see anything good out of his going out. Is that the same way Tinubu will continue? The vice president is not in the country. The president is not in the country. Then the affairs of the country is in whose hand? With all that is happening in this country, look at what the labor leaders are planning to do. They want to embark on indefinite strike. Then if they should embark on indefinite strike, the president and the vice president are outside the country. Then who else will handle our problem? Honestly, I don't know when we are going to get it right in this country. And I keep on saying that we don't have leaders, we have rulers. Had we were having leaders in this country, they will know the pains people are passing through. Life is not easy to come by. Livelihood is being controlled by the economy of this country, but the economy is not being managed very well. So we lack management in this country. I pray that we'll continue to pray to our God so that things will get better in this country. Nigerians are not smiling, my sisters. You made analysis of medical personnel, that we have so many of them that are fraud. That is the truth about it. Nigeria, is it because we lack leadership? That's why in every aspect of life, in every phase of life, we are suffering. If education suffers, health suffers, then which sector do you think that will touch the livelihood of humanity? I pray that God will have mercy on us so I'll get things right in this country. Good morning, my sisters.
Good morning.
All
Thank you,
right,
Mr.
Shamal.
Yeah.
We'd like to react to that, Rachel.
Well, Sele, is true concerning our presidents always out on one thing or another. While you see that, okay, there's absolutely, there are summits, of course, that world leaders are supposed to be in attendance. And at the same time, there are summits that world leaders don't necessarily have to be there. But my concern is that the ones that Tinubu has been flying over, for example, the last G20 summit, we're not even members in the first place, so we're not even supposed to be there for some reason. But he went with the excuse of trying to woo investors, and just as we keep saying.
All right, let's take this call. Good morning. Please turn down the volume of your TV sets, please.
Okay, I can make my comment now. Okay, yeah, good morning.
Yeah, morning. Turn down the volume of your TV set.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
All right, yes, we can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been like to comment concerning this palliative something, because I could remember during the Buhari regime, there's one certain time they give us, they say COVID-19 something in our state here in Taraba. Like as I was speaking now, they call us where I went to bank, they give me 70,000, and a part of that 70,000, they collected 20,000. They now give us 20,000. Now, as I was speaking to you now, many of us, those people that they collected that money, they are still went to their bank. They are just collected their money through their bank. So I don't know. I told them that's the program. They told us they just help us. They are trying to help us for the COVID-19 something. But for now, they are following bank to bank for our district. They are collecting our money. I did they give us credit, and I was confused. I don't know. They are going to collect the 60,000. I did they will just collect the 70,000. And then they say the money they give on that very time is more than that amount that I was speaking to you now. So I was confused. This is our country. I don't know how the thing is. Seriously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, like, before we come to what he said concerning our presidents always jetting out, yes, you said you went to get investors. However, let's fix the fact. Let's stay and fix the country, and we won't need to woo any investors. They will be the one coming, running to us, and we'll be the one now in the position to select who has the right to invest in Nigeria and whose services we don't need. But it's true, we need to have our government staying in the country and running the affairs of the country, because there's so much to do. You're supposed to be in and out of meetings, setting up committees to check this, to check that, to check this, to check that. And you were also supposed to have all these documents on your table by yourself. There are some very delicate.
Let's take this call.
We still have another call.
As well, is that my urging, if I were in the position to our vice president, I would say that it's better we'll go back and review what you call policy review. Policy review in the sense that when you have a formulated policy and the policy is not fully working, you can go back and at least do something about that policy. You can go and remove 50%, remove 100%. It's beyond what we are seeing, and what I'm saying is that it's better we remove 50 to know can at least control what is happening, because that well of removal of fuel subsidy has already touched everywhere. Just scatter the system. then I believe that to go ahead and continue working with that 100%, it may be very difficult. Let us come back and know whether we can at least remove 50 and know whether the price of oil will go we at least be at the middle. Now, that's what the leader level leaders I'm asking them to advise president. Say 50%, not 100%. So that you go ahead and do what you want to do for us. Because level leaders is a set of people. People has been at least been had the demand has been given to them. Not even be accommodated. The best is not to move the 50, the policy review and remove the 50 and allow 50 to at least within the economy. That was my own suggestion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
We really hope that the government sits down and review policies, because if one policy is not serving you well, there's no need holding on to it and seeing no results. So yes, we do need policy reviews, and we hope that the government is willing to sit down and review the policies so far. And then concerning the one in Taraba concerning COVID-19 loans, and it's amazing to see that a lot of people, depending on the region in this country, and this is where we even see administration defaults, because why are people seeing these kinds of loans and grants for COVID, and some regions didn't see it? Because now we are seeing people in Taraba, just as he said, getting over 70,000 COVID loans or relief from banks, disbursing this money to them, and now they got 50,000 and now it's 20,000. One of the problems I noticed in the banking industry recently is that, be it grants or loan, people take out their cuts and still expect you to pay full. So for example, you're giving access to 100,000, you might end up with 70,000, and the bank holds back the 30,000, or whosoever is the referral or the person that made it possible for you to get that money holds back 30, and this individual is now asking, I received 50 out of the 70, are they expecting me to pay back the 70 or is it the 50? If I understand how the system works, sometimes you're still expected to pay back that 70. That cut went to the pocket of whosoever felt entitled to it because they helped you gain access to it. But then you should go to your bank and make the inquiries. What are they expecting of you? Because we saw it on the paper yesterday that they were coming at those who got these COVID-19 loans for one thing or another. They need to bring it back or remit it. If that was the case for you at your bank, you need to go to the bank and understand precisely what is expected of you to do. Was it a grant or was it a loan? Depending, some got grants, some got loans. If yours is a loan, then of course you need to pay it back. If that wasn't stated clearly, just sort things out with your
so you're in a better picture of what is
happening. Yes.
There is one article about organ harvesting.
Good morning, please go ahead, sir.
Which was reported, and in fact, it is very, very unfortunate. The man lost his wife, and we are now talking about quack doctors and all whatnot. So, what we do, I think, just like in the offices, we hang photos of either Mr. President, the local government chairman, or even a governor. Such clinics, I am suggesting, should be hanging their certificate in their receptions. That will go a long way to show us whether that clinic or hospital is actually being run by a certified, qualified doctor. I think that is the little contribution I want to make.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It will go a long way for people to see
Honestly.
the certificate. It will. And I hope that the necessary authority makes that a law, not something optional. This is very important. I keep saying, when it comes to important things, don't make it optional like it is somebody's choice or not to do that. Display your certificate.
Binding on.
Exactly. Make it like that so that when I walk in, I see the certificate, I know which is an original certificate or not, and then I be comfortable that I am in a certified place and my life is secure. Yeah, exactly.
Secure. Well, let's continue with other stories on New Telegraph, where we have Nigeria carriers operating under harsh economic environment, coming from the DG of the NCAA, says 27 revenue charges hurting the aviation sector. You can find more on page 2. And we have a study at the downside of the paper where it says chemical exposure increases risks of cancers in women. So that ranging from chemicals in our cream, chemicals in some of the relaxers we use, chemicals in so many ways. You know, women are being exposed to all of this, so we have to be very careful. So you can read more of the study on page 26, and that is on the New Telegraph newspaper.
On this day newspaper, indefinite strike looms as NLC federal government stock end in deadlock. Labour demands 200% wage award, then get worried over economic impact of another strike, meets TUC today. Adedeji resume as FIRS generates 8.5 trillion naira in 9 months. You can find more details on page 8. We have story that says Edo crisis deepens. More details can be found on page 10. The big story on the paper, Adeyemo identified 4 economic reform priorities for Nigeria. Comments Tinubu's administration's bold step, says unified FX rate essential to attracting foreign investment, declares reversing the policy will be worse. But we're already seeing the government going back as the parallel market is back as and existing together with the I&E window, and we're seeing recently where the change operators are complaining in dollar scarcity, and at the unofficial market we're having the dollar going as high as 930, and some are selling it 400 naira and 1000 naira to a dollar. I just hope that the government really sticks to unification. You can start with the details on the front page and continue on page 10. U.S.-Nigeria economic relations. We are seeing a picture story showing that this happened in Lagos yesterday. And at the downside of the paper, Owando posts 32.9 billion naira profit after tax for 2021. And that's all the news on this day newspaper.
All right, let's round it up with the Nigerian Tribune, where we have crisis rock Olu Ibadan Advisory Council meeting. You can find more on page 19. Adeyemo, U.S. Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, says foreign companies eager to invest in Nigeria. Well, I think that will answer the question to where we have our leaders traveling out. If more, investors are eager to invest in Nigeria, then I think that it's very commendable, and we hope we see more investors coming in. Other story on the paper, we have Tinubu appoint Baba Ahmed and 17 other aides for Shetima. We hope that they will advise him in the right way. You can find more on page 15. Still on the Paris Club reform. All right, this is our last call for today.
Second on the deputies that they not at the office, and it's just how can they rule Nigeria like that? How can they rule the state like that? You just look at what they have done, that is leading the affair. They're going to fight a dirty fight in the street. And they are not interested about the masses, about the people. So now, what will be the part of the nation, the part of the state? And that is my contribution this morning. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, sir. And that was our last call for today. Well, let me quickly round up on still on Nigerian Tribune, where we have Paris Club reform. Federal government moves to block $480 million payment to consultant. More on page 5. Mohbad's death, police set up special investigation team, which has been going back and forth. You can find more for those into the entertainment industry on page 28. The big story on strike, NLC meet federal government, says ultimatum subside, and then we also have demand concrete solution to palliative wage award NURTW crisis. Whenever we are invited, we will be there. We will produce resolutions that will enhance better benefit, working conditions for workers. This is coming from the Minister of Labor and Employment, Lalong. You can find more inside the paper. How we stabbed shot Senator Adiola's 3 times. This is coming from suspects. NTA staffer, 10 other passengers kidnapped in Benue. U.S. military seek help to find missing $80 million F-35 fighting jet. You can find more on page 26. And we have how Intriga store Nigeria's $2.3 billion, 25,000 megawatts power project, phase 1 now on course. This is coming from a source, and we have a picture story on the front page of the paper. You can do well to grab the paper and read any of the story that is of interest to you, and that is how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
For always read this with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you to our callers who call in on the show. Thank you so much for your insightful analysis. Thank you for your contribution on the show. Thank you to all our crew members for putting in their effort to make sure this program is prompt on air, to the general manager, the ECHO executive, and also to our supporters who have been supporting ETV. Thank you so much. Until we come here again, please do have a blessed day ahead.